Okay, it's my pleasure to introduce Lee Bratcher. Lee is the founder and president of the Texas Blockchain Council. The council has more than 100 member companies and hosts the North American Blockchain Summit. Lee's talk today is titled State-Level Bitcoin Adoption, Insights from Texas's Strategic Bitcoin Reserve Actions. Thank you, Lee. I'll leave it over to you to continue the discussion.
Well, thank you, Sonia. It's an honor to be here, guys. Looking forward to the conversation and happy to take questions towards the end of my time. So feel free to type those questions in the Q&A, and I'm sure we'll get to those in just a few moments. I will share a brief presentation related to the Texas Strategic Bitcoin Reserve Bill. And let me just get that screen share going here. Okay. So we are working in Texas to pass a strategic Bitcoin reserve. It's Senate Bill 21. The Texas Blockchain Council has been working for the last 5 years to make Texas the jurisdiction of choice for Bitcoin, blockchain, and digital assets. And we've passed 4 pieces of legislation over the course of that time and really changed the landscape in Texas. When the TBC was founded 5 years ago, Texas was looked at as a bit of a backwater with regards to digital asset regulation and innovation in general. And we find ourselves today in 2025 with the Texas Stock Exchange coming. It's already announced in Dallas, Texas. NYSE, Texas has been announced, and also now NASDAQ has announced. And we're also seeing this movement towards Y'all Street, as the Wall Street Journal has coined it, and more financial services professionals in Dallas than in any other city in the United States besides New York City. And we see Houston being the energy capital of the world, Austin being the Silicon Hills for tech and software. So it's really an incredible trifecta of financial services, technology, and energy here in the great state of Texas. And at the TBC, we're proud to play a very small part in that, in influencing policy and supporting our member companies. We have over 90 corporate members. And so this bill is really a culmination of 5 years of effort. It is passed through the Texas Senate. So we worked with the chairman of the Senate Business and Commerce Committee. The bill is structured such that the comptroller will have the authority to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve, a fund that's outside the traditional treasury, but still administered and overseen by the comptroller, akin to the Rainy Day Fund, the Texas Economic Stabilization Fund. And of course, you can see there that the Senator, Chairman Charles Swartner is the main author. And of course, Senator Tan Parker has been a big supporter and a joint author on this bill. And the House side, this bill is being championed by Chairman Giovanni Capriglione, who chairs the Doge Committee. We expect that the bill, it has been assigned to the Doge Committee by the Texas House Speaker, and we expect it to be heard next Wednesday. And have every degree of confidence that this bill is going to be the first of its kind that passes. Initially, there was a donation component to the bill where Texans or US-based companies could donate. The senators decided to streamline that and remove that provision because it was going to be pretty hard to administer and to ensure that only US companies and Texans were donating, just due to the nature of the technology that we all know and love. And so that portion of the bill is no longer there. There is simply now an appropriation. The appropriation for this bill is going to take place in the traditional budget and appropriation process, which happens in the Senate Finance Committee and other committees. So we expect about a $20 million appropriation. So in the grand scheme of things, the size of the Texas budget, it's not a huge number, but it is a significant step. It would be the first state to directly buy Bitcoin and hold Bitcoin on the balance sheet. Of course, it would be second, to El Salvador. Of course, Texas being an incredibly large economy, the 8th largest economy if it were measured as its own country, a larger economy than Brazil or Canada or many European nations. So a very significant step, and still would be the first U.S. state to pass a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Utah did pass a bill related to Bitcoin and Bitcoin rights, but they did pull out the strategic reserve investment portion of the bill. So there's many other great states that are working on this legislation, and in the spirit of coopetition, we hope to be the first. And so you might ask, why do we need a strategic Bitcoin reserve? So I'd point to a couple things. One, it in a small way will enhance the state's financial resiliency and sovereignty. Of course, that this could grow over time if the reserve grows or the dollar value of the Bitcoin in the reserve grows. And certainly we expect that. It can also provide a hedge against fiat currency risks. Texas runs a balanced budget. We are constitutionally prohibited from running a budget deficit. So any Bitcoin that is purchased for the Texas Strategic Bitcoin Reserve will be from reserve funds that are in excess that would be invested by the comptroller anyways. And so this is just directing that investment towards a long-term savings vehicle. And Texas has always been extremely prudent with their investment strategy. This does allow for a little bit of portfolio diversification for the state of Texas and for the comptroller as they invest in many things, including equities, real estate, treasuries, and other financial instruments. So this is a picture of us a couple weeks ago in the Texas Capitol with several Texas area, I would just say supporters. These are all volunteers in this picture, except for the 2 or 3 of us that are on staff with the TBC, the Texas Blockchain Council. They all came to support in the hearing. There were so many people in the hearing that the system that runs the virtual portion of the hearing for people to tune in who are not there in the building crashed. There was just that many people trying to log on and watch the hearing. And so the Texas state senators and state representatives have taken notice of that and are very excited about that bill. And like I said earlier in the presentation, we do expect the bill to go in front of the House Doge Committee on Wednesday. And the earliest that it could probably pass the Texas House would be around the end of the month. And Governor Abbott has already told us that he plans on signing this bill into law when it reaches his desk. And so we're looking forward to celebrating with him when that happens, should it pass. And again, we do have a relatively high degree of confidence that it will, but nothing is ever certain in the legislature. So at this time, I'm going to take the slideshow down and just stop sharing my screen here, and just really, again, offer to you guys a little bit of Q&A time. So feel free to throw those questions into the chat. Happy to take those questions as they come. I'd also like to talk a little bit about the regulatory environment that Texas has established over the years. So Texas passed a proof of reserve piece of legislation 2 years ago. We also passed legislation that would enable formerly flared gas and vented gas to be redirected to Bitcoin mining without having to pay severance tax on that gas. So eliminating sort of a perverse incentive that existed there from using wasted gas and fuel to power mobile data centers, Bitcoin mining or AI, it doesn't matter. And so we've got several other things, including being one of the first states that updated the Uniform Commercial Code to update virtual currency and definitions around digital assets so that people could perfect security interests in those assets without having to file UCC1 filing statements. So that Bitcoin can act more like a bearer instrument. And I'm seeing a question in the chat now from Ms. Sanchez. How do you think the education of the decision makers affects the passing of such initiatives? Um, it it is surprising, I think sometimes for those of you that are, or for those of us that are in this industry, just how early we actually are. So most elected officials just have so many things on their plate. They do not have time to engage with every issue as much as they would want to. And so we are starting from uh, pretty early levels with most elected officials. Now, there are people like Senator Parker, Chairman Schwartner, Chairman Capriglione, who we've known for many, many years, have shared many meals, had them speak at our conferences over the years several times, and are just genuinely digital natives, crypto natives, and financial services natives. In fact, Senator Parker and Chairman Capriglione both come from the private equity world. So I'd say the level of interest varies greatly. Some people, financial services is just not their thing. Maybe other kinds of like health policy or energy policy. So there is a lot of education that needs to take place, but it is interesting how it's different from elected official to elected official, and it really matters what their specialty is. And so we have found that kind of an interesting journey. Is Texas focused on Bitcoin only for its reserves? Question from Kenneth. So it's a good question. The way that it's written in the bill and the way that we advised it to be written is that they set a threshold of market cap. So right now, a $500 billion market cap is set. So should there be another digital asset that achieves that level of market cap, the legislators and the comptroller could come together and expand the reserve beyond Bitcoin. But right now, we expect it to likely just be Bitcoin, and we'll see how the market plays out moving forward. Another question from Kenneth: is Texas trying to get ahead of the U.S. Strategic Bitcoin Reserve? Well, certainly. The state of Texas always loves beating the federal government, and I do think by the nature of the Federal Reserve, since they're not going to buy Bitcoin directly, they're looking for sort of tax neutral strategies to get Bitcoin into the reserve at the federal level. Senator Lummis's bill obviously does more than that and does great things. I think we will beat Senator Lummis's bill, though. We love Senator Lummis and we love Wyoming, and we love what she's doing at the federal level. But I do think that the state of Texas will beat that particular piece of legislation that would see the federal government buying Bitcoin. And so there's a little bit of co-opetition there, and it's fun to try to race with our partners at the federal level. And of course, we work with them all the time on varying pieces of legislation. A question from Tyler Pearts. So Tyler Pearts in the chat is asking, what do you think about the idea of rural electric cooperatives mining Bitcoin themselves as a tool to control demand? So certainly we would support this idea. We've seen it work firsthand with Bitcoin miners coming in and soaking up wasted energy in times of low demand and turning off and curtailing their consumption during times of high demand. So it would work even better for rural cooperatives that are particularly beholden to the duck curve and energy demand at certain times of day. And perhaps they may only have a couple of generation resources, like a little bit of hydro, which is pretty constant, maybe a peaker plant or a natural gas plant, and then maybe some renewables. So if you have just a strange mix of generation resources, and you're dealing with strange, or not strange, but pretty typical energy consumption patterns, which is people use a lot of power in the mornings and in the afternoons, but not a lot overnight, and not too much midday. There's kind of a little bit of a lull midday in power consumption. Bitcoin mining is a perfect tool to handle those kinds of challenges. So it's a great question from Tyler. Looks like Ethan Cox has a question. In terms of vendors, contracts, and execution of Senate Bill 21, how do you see that process and timeline playing out, assuming the bill is signed into law in early May, enacted before end of year? Do you see Texas using cold storage or third-party storage? Great question from Ethan. We expect the bill to be signed around that time frame, but it wouldn't go into effect till September 1st. And then the bill does suggest that the comptroller would put out RFPs and RFIs so that they could solicit bids from different contractors. And I very much think that, a qualified custodian or multi-institutional custody is in play. I'm not so sure that they'll do cold storage. It'd be a great narrative, though. We have a Texas bullion depository where we hold gold here in the state of Texas, just outside of Austin in a city called Leander. And it'd be a great story to put a Trezor or a ledger in the bullion depository, but it's unlikely for this first step that it's going to be a Trezor or a ledger or a hardware wallet. We probably are expecting or anticipating a qualified custodian like Coinbase or Fidelity or a multi-institutional custody arrangement. So it's a good question there from Ethan. Got a question here from Jeffrey Clark. Lee, as a Texas investor, I'm looking for two things: a Bitcoin bank that can offer staking, high yield interest, and then waiting for Texas to offer gold backed, like Wyoming, Nevada. So Jeffrey, so I have some thoughts here. I don't think you're going to see a bank offering staking yield just yet, but I do think you'll see banks offering Bitcoin and digital assets financial services very soon, including custody, lending, stable coins. And I think probably start with those. Stable coins probably are the first thing that we're going to see out the chute. We actually did see a Texas bank named Vantage Bank announce a stable coin that they issued alongside Custodia, Caitlin Long's institution. That was probably 2 weeks ago. So Jeffrey, the floodgates have been opened. The OCC, the FDIC, they've all revised their guidance to banks that they issued during the Biden administration. And so we're having a ton of conversations with banks, probably still a little bit a ways off for staking, but some other kinds of financial services and lending and stable coins, absolutely. That's on the horizon very soon. Okay, looks like I've got a couple other questions here. A question from Ethan Cox. Looks like that's a duplicate question. So I think given that we've exhausted all the questions and that I had until 1:40 Central Time to engage with you guys, and I'm about 30 seconds over, I think I'll conclude my remarks there and just encourage people, if you're wanting to get involved, we're at the TexasBlockchainCouncil.org, and we host the North American Blockchain Summit in Texas, Austin, Dallas. This year it's in Dallas at the Bush Presidential Center in Q3 of each year. So we look forward to hosting folks out there coming up here in a few months. Well, I'm seeing some folks in the chat here: Trish, Kenneth, Tyler, Theo. Happy to take more questions until Sonia comes in and kicks me out. I think I'm supposed to conclude my remarks, but I think we could probably keep going until I'm kicked out. So Mariella is asking me to tell you guys a little bit more about the conference. So the North American Blockchain Summit is an event that we host alongside other partners. It is in years past, we've hosted speakers like SEC Commissioner Hester Peirce, U.S. Senator Cynthia Lummis, Senator Ted Cruz, Ron Wyden, and in addition to Congressman French Hill, who's now Chairman French Hill of Financial Services, Majority Whip Tom Emmer, and tons of executives from the digital assets industry, a lot of Bitcoin mining executives and exchange executives from places like Coinbase, Kraken, Blockchain.com, Crypto.com, and many others. And yeah, we try to mix traditional finance speakers with the digital asset executives and elected officials. And so we've also hosted speakers like former House Speaker Paul Ryan. If you guys have seen his op-ed on stablecoins in the Wall Street Journal, quite a powerful advocate for our industry. And we even had former Secretary of Defense and former CIA Director Mike Pompeo come and talk about the geopolitical and strategic importance of the digital asset industry. And so all of these videos are recorded actually on our YouTube channel. We had RFK Jr., Vivek Ramaswamy. So if you are interested in seeing those talks, I can drop the YouTube channel in the chat here, and also a link to the conference. So just stand by for a moment while I grab that. And we've got about 6,000 subscribers in the channel, so feel free to subscribe if you want to be made notified of the content that we've got coming out. And then I'm also going to drop a link to the North American Blockchain Summit in the chat as well. All right, well, just on the off chance that Sonia is waiting for me to step off stage instead of booting me off stage, I think I have hit my time limit. So I appreciate you guys' attention. And Trish is saying more events in Austin. Yeah, we do a ton of events in Austin. I just got back from Austin. I'm between Austin and Dallas all the time. So we've got some upcoming things in Austin. And the summit has been in Austin 2 years. And now in DFW 2 years. So we'll probably bring the summit back to Austin soon. So with that, I will step off stage here